மறக்காம சர்ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Thank you.
Okay, I want to show you a recent game now from the first Saturday tournament in Budapest in the year 2007, February 2007. And it's between a guy called Lex and an international master called Popovic. And it features a variation of the exchange line for white, which I don't think we'll be seeing too much of. We quickly reach the traditional position, with both sides bringing out their pieces, as already discussed. Out comes the bishop to e3. Bishop comes to f6. Okay, you can argue all day about this particular move order, but it comes the same roughly. And now white plays a very sharp continuation, and a very optimistic continuation in my view. He allows black to double the pawns by playing the immediate h3. Well, this is certainly an opportunity that black should take to downgrade the pawns. And white's idea, again, is nakedly aggressive. He wants to cast on the queen side, he wants to get to grips with the black king immediately on the open g-file, and he's hoping to use this light square bishop to help him. You know, he's got two bishops now. Is it worth the downgrading of the pawn structure like this? I'm not so sure. Let's just see how Popovic deals with this situation. In fact, he reacts in a very good way. He plays the immediate move d5. And this move creates counterplay immediately. It's anticipatory. It strikes while the iron is hot. You know, if white wants to castle queenside, well, he's got to face the fact that he's got to play c5, knight comes to c8, castle on the queen side. Well, black's got all sorts of ways to lever open the queen side now that white's played c5, usually involving the move pawn up to b6. So already white is feeling the defects, the possible defects of this plan. If white had time to get his kingside attack into shape, then doubtless black will come under serious pressure. But that d5 move was well timed in my view. Okay, well, knight has dropped back to c8. White has castle. Black played pawn up to c6. He's getting ready for the move b6. And white played rook to g1. Okay, that was his scheme all along. Black played rook to e8. Bishop comes to d3. Knight comes to d7. Yes, it's certain that black will have to endure a period of play where he has to defend. But as long as black is careful in this position, then I don't really see any justification for white's play. You know, the black king is actually very difficult to assault directly here. And, well, that's not to say white's not going to try. And rook g2 is the start of that process. Okay, b6. And now the rook comes across to g1. And so here we see the culmination of white's plan, you could say. And now it's just a question of whether the black king position is solid enough to restrain white's attack. At the same time, black is obviously creating counterplay there. b6 takes c5, you know, the queen side's opening up. Which king is going to be weaker? But as I say, for the time being, black has to be a little bit careful. And knight f8 is one such move. With two ideas. First idea is to cover h7 against any strike. Second idea is to bring the knight up to g6 as and when needed to block the g-file. And now really it's up to white to find a way through. And I think at this stage Lex took a look around the position and, well, he couldn't really see a way through. Black seems to be lying on the back row for the time being. It's kind of like a rope-a-dope strategy. But white has already committed himself. Not fatally, but pretty substantially when he played those moves c5 and allowed black to double the pawn. So white is very, very committed in this situation. Yeah, and as I was saying, I think Lex took a look around the position. He couldn't see what to do. He really couldn't see a way through. And so he played the move knight a4. I'm not too sure about that move, but well, he's trying to find the best way of enticing black to close the queen side. b5, of course, for black would be a bad move because it closes down the area where black should be operating. And if black takes on c5, well, white's going to take back with the knight. At any rate, black was not intimidated by that move. He just continued his manoeuvring in the full knowledge that if the white attack burns out, black has all the positional trumps. So what black's got to do is just hang tough for a little while and defend. Knight e7. Bishop comes out to g5. hoping to bear the g7 square. Okay, black was quite happy to take that off. Rook takes g5. And now black covers g7 by playing knight e to g6. And again, you know, white's got to find a way through in this position. Black brought the e knight to g6 because I think he's got designs for his knight on f8. I'm pretty sure black intends to put that knight on e6 in this position, which in turn embarrasses several of white's pieces. The instant that b file opens up with b takes c5, black is going to be in business because he's got ideas of rook b8, queen coming out as well. Black is very swift. So again, I think this worried white so much that he decided to take on g6 in this position. But once again, that's not a move that white wants to make. The more pieces that come off, the more black's positional trumps assert themselves. So bishop takes g6 can already be seen as a rather desperate idea. Okay, black takes back with the f pawn. Perhaps slightly surprising, but black is starting to think ambitiously. He thinks he's going to use the f file a bit later on. I mean, those pawns are exposed and will be taken off if the white attack burns out. So white's next move again is not surprising. Pawn h4. He's trying to lever open the king side. But black deals with this very, very comfortably. First stage in that process is queen to f6. And now we see the numerous defects in white's position. Okay, rook e5. Desperate stuff. But after h5, which I suppose you could say is the logical alternative, well, let's see. I think black has many moves in this position. There's no reason why he can't play a move like rook e7 here. And simply double on the file. Knight e6 is an attractive possibility. Queen takes f3 might even be possible. So with h5 not working, once again we return to the game and rook e5, which again looks very desperate. I think white was just cracking up in this position, running out of steam, and well, it's hard to see what he's hoping for in this position. Black could take on e5, but queen takes f3. Queen takes h4 was the logical continuation. And now white's weakness is all over the place. Once again, it's a very easy game to understand from here on in. You know, black just consolidates and takes white apart. Having said that, it is quite instructive to see how black does finish the job. Paradoxically, he does close the queen side down now. And suddenly all of black's pieces come into the game. Knight comes to e6. Black plays a disruptive d4. It's downhill all the way for white here. Centralisation for black. White really can't think of what to do. Another pawn goes down the drain. The knight comes into a beautiful square on e4. Perhaps white was in time trouble. And you know what? Black doesn't even take on g3. Knight takes f2. So the game has turned into a complete rout. The queen came to b3. King went to h8. King comes to b2. And now queen e1 concludes a well-played game. So you could see this game as a kind of aside. You know, there are not many white players who are going to play in this manner. But it does give encouragement. And again, a game where appearances were deceptive. It looks as though white was building up some sort of an attack, but his attack ground to a halt.
மறக்காம சர்ப்ரைஸ் பண்ணுங்க. Thank you.